So today guys, I wanted to talk about a little bit about the PvP state on Ascension. First and foremost, if you have watched me for a while, you probably know that I'm very disappointed that there's actually no high risk PvP in leveling. I don't really play max level PvP, mostly because it requires a lot of grind. Like the entry level is pretty high because you have to go prepared with certain skills, spells, abilities, and with all around RNG, it's pretty hard to be honest, so most of the time it will just get slapped. So I just prefer to stick with like low level BG currently, but I really crave for some open world random PvP. And even though like questing is the least favorite probably for most of all, because we've done it thousands of times already, that urge of some extra PvP, of some unpredictability that an enemy can actually show up around every corner makes it so awesome and fun to play. So I would really love to have that back again, that possibility. It would really be crazy. Things like Forge mode, those were the things that made this game so amazing, at least in my opinion. But unfortunately for the moment we'll probably only stay with what we have, so we have to continue enjoy at least the BGs while we can. But there comes up another problem. I could call it balance issues, but it's not even balance, it's like lack of a variety. If you've probably seen my other like PvP builds, in melee there were like 5 or 6 damage profiles more than builds that were kind of viable, that were doing like very similar damage on their own, and you could use those supplemented with some extra CC and mobility to do well in low level PvP BGs. But although like 5 or 6 builds may sound like a pretty nice variety to most people, I would say that it's not really that great, to be honest. Most of the abilities, like let's say for example Melee Hunter, have so low coefficient in PvP that even when powered up by all those mystic engines and all kinds of buffs, they literally tickle enemies. And it's really a shame because there are so many cool and fun playstyles that could be used, but we just simply don't have a chance to do it. So, and this is why also many new players kinda hit a brick wall when it comes down to PvP, and they just resign from it because they come in, they see a team of twinks with, you know, those meta builds, let's call them, and they are getting completely swiped off the battlefield. I mean, I could say that it's like completely normal in World of Warcraft because yeah, this is the game where gear matters like mostly, but at this point it's not only about gear. There are so many factors actually that come into play on Ascension because, you know, all those randomness that can completely fuck you up. This just simply adds up another layer where people cannot enjoy the game. The balance issues can also be seen, for example, because when you pump some skill and then you get, for example, thing like Lightning Blade, which has like 300% weapon damage modifier on itself, while for example the most iconic spell in the game, Mortal Strike, hits like a freaking wet noodle, and with the former you can just simply kill people without even stacking any damage buffs on it. So this is the balance issues I have. It's not about certain builds because, you know, I don't mind if, for example, double down spam does like 5% more damage than, for example, Titanic Mutilate or things like that. I don't care about that as long as it's fun and performing at least similarly good to the others. It's fine with me. Same goes for the healing spells. There's like Healing Touch and probably Greater Heal that are like the spells with best coefficients in here, and everybody just runs them because of that. And if you get something like Healing Wave or lesser Healing Wave, those are completely useless and they all normalize like cast times, things like that. And then I don't know who actually got such an amazing idea that, for example, Healing Touch only takes 50% spell coefficient, while Greater Heal and Healing healing touch take 100, because it looks like this. With healing touch you can heal up to 1k around level 60 with green gear, while healing touches or holy lights only deal like 500 or 600, and the cast time is literally the same. I do understand that they differ, and they should differ, but for example make them like quicker cast or things like that. It's pretty simple, but I don't know, just so many things in PvP seem completely random and out of place that it's just crazy, bro. I really love World of Warcraft PvP, and this is like a thing that I still enjoy on Ascension, like those low-level BGs where people actually don't have perfected builds and stuff like that. But yeah, at the moment it's just like you're going meta or you're gonna be smashed completely. And the thing is that in the current state of Ascension, which is really a thing that bothers me, is that all those builds kind of focus, like in Path of Data, when you want to find 1 or 2 skills at maximum that can do some crazy stuff and things for you, and you just pump as much as possible into it, or like at least a score, but usually it's one simple skill. You put like cooldown reductions, damage increases, everything in it, just so it deals the most damage. But then we have to remember that this design is kind of counterintuitive to WoW, because it's not a freaking MOBA when we have 4 spells to use. We have a full array of spells, but we simply can use them because, yeah, like you've seen in my last build, you just pick up 3 versions of Moonfire, go into BG, you pump everything in those Moonfires, and you own everybody around because they hit 300 targets, they deal the same damage as like some crazy procs that should actually take you some setup. Why bother? Just take Moonfire and you deal same damage as casting 10,100 second cast time spell. So it's kind of annoying, because I really love Ascension for what it is, and this is how they design spells, how they make some mechanics really cool and fun, how they connected all those classes and all those synergies, things like that. And then on the other hand, we get things like this where Moonfire is basically like superior to anything, or like double down Sinister Strike. And this is only because you can pack up so many things into one skill. This is the issue. Scaling is one thing, like I said, because this also shows up. But then the second problem is that you can actually take one of those pre-rig skills and then pump them so much with other modifiers that it's getting out of hand. For melee, it's mostly because of things like spell-infused weapons, so I don't know, overheated strikes, some additional random stuff that can proc off your attacks and use the attacks that, for example, hit with both weapons, so you can proc even more of those procs. And then your one hit skill actually turns out to be doing like 8 or 10 hits with one button press, and maybe those numbers are pretty low because each one of those hits only deal like 50 or 60, but if you combine them, then the damage is pretty deadly. So you have like those 2 scenarios where the scaling of ability is pretty overpowered. You do have some methods of powering it up even more, and then it creates this broken build. Or the other scenario where actually the ability in itself doesn't really seem that powerful, but so many modifiers can be slapped on it that eventually it makes it overpowered. So I think the best method would actually be to look deeply into that scaling and just basically nerf the main ability. If so many things can be slapped onto one thing, then nerf each one of it by like, I don't know, 10% to meet like the scaling from the main ability. Another complete perfect balance cannot be actually achieved in such like MMO genre, especially in a game where you can mix and match everything, because there are like too many scenarios that can happen with your build, and kind of balancing around perfect builds is also counterintuitive because not so many people will actually have that one in the current state of the game. So, and I don't know, I just kind of feel sometimes that they don't really listen to us in terms of PvP. Like there was a guy that mentioned on Discord actually the Mortal Strike topic, that Mortal Strike always was a very iconic and one of the most powerful abilities in the game, whilst on Ascension it's pretty much weak source, and it can do some pretty cool stuff when combined with other things. For example, Single-Minded Fury, it's still pretty okay then, nothing really special. But like I said, said, it was actually designed for like two-handed weapons mostly. Why not buff it up? Why not increase like rage requirement or something, but make it actually feel meaning? That's actually the good word, I think, that some skills, especially in PvP, because we don't really see those modifiers, we don't know, we have to test it manually, everything, or you just go into BG, you check your details because you have been slapped with 2 hits, and then you see that somebody has like, I don't know, lava lash hitting for like 600 or something, then okay, that's pretty obvious. You just reverse engineer everything, you look what you can actually pump into lava lash, and there you go, you have your perfect damage profile. There are actually some very cool designs even at the moment. For example, Frostmage, they also shared a guide recently. I really love the playstyle because it is kinda very cast heavy, although when you actually do make those casts and manage to pull them off, then you get very nicely rewarded with the icicle mechanic, which allow your one simple spell to unleash a deadly barrage of attacks in quick succession. But this is actually a good design. The damage is pretty powerful and maybe even overpowered if you want to call it like that, but actually requires some setup, not just going in and spamming one single button. That's the difference. I don't mind like big damage, I love it actually, but you have to kind of make those mechanics and synergies in a way that it requires you some setup or some previous planning or strategy to pull them off. Or even the procs like Shadow Priest, for example, they have those tentacle things and stuff like that, which is not really that powerful at the moment, but there's a very cool talent called Darkness, which actually allows you to Mind Blast twice in a row, change it into something that makes your next Mind Blast instant as well and increases damage by like 20% or something. So we actually have something to press in a fast-paced PvP, especially when you can run around spamming Moonfires with very powerful dots and direct damage on top of that, while you can only apply those Shadow Ward Pains that deal absolutely no damage initially, and then you still have to wait until those tentacles spawn, and you can actually outrange them very easily, so in many situations they're pretty much useless. So it's kind of cool, while also, so yeah, Darkness instant cast would be amazing, and this can already fix like the spell very nice, the spec very nicely, and it doesn't actually destroy anything in PvE because Mind Blast anyway is a very quick cast, so one instant cast here and there won't really change a thing that much. When we're staying actually on top of the topic of Shadow Priest, there's a very cool mechanic called Shadow Visions or Mind Visions, can't really remember exactly now, but this actually unlocks like extra damage or effect on one of your abilities when you actually get it to like 9 stacks. This is pretty good design overall because you have to cast a couple of Mind Flays before you can actually unleash that powerful spell, but come on, at least make it powerful. While Icicles from Mage are great and are feeling great to use, then this Priest thing is just simply annoying. It's nowhere near the power spike that Mage has, and this is kind of destroying the variety. I'm not even talking about balance, but the variety, like nobody is using probably even this spell because of how weak it is. And to be honest, at this point, I don't really think that Ascension should add even more like new legendaries or things like that. They should just simply try to redesign the current ones because there are plenty of them. They are pretty amazing. They just need some thought, feedback, and some willing person to actually change them. Because from what I see so far in PvP, it looks like that people report something on Discord that they've seen like Arcane Shot deal, I don't know, X damage, Titanic Strike deal X damage, and then there is a guy that actually nerfs it and changes it instantly almost, but those are just flat damage numbers. And there are so many other things that can be also done to open like new playstyles. But yeah, numbers are important as well. Melees have the same problem because there was like a build that kind of combined warrior with hunter called demolisher, where you actually wanted to spam as many mortal strikes as possible to get 6 stacks of demolisher, and then your Mungus Bite was actually buffed pretty tremendously. And before all the nerfs, the build was pretty damn good because, yeah, the mortal strikes themselves may not be doing that much damage, but when you actually went single-minded fury and used 2 weapons, then 1 strike actually gave you 2 stacks, combined with hateful strike and how fast abilities can hit. You could stack up those, you could go to 6 stacks in basically like no time, and then you could unleash a very powerful Mungus. But it was nerfed to the ground to a point where this ability is no longer even useful to use. This is like a legendary talent. I come again, because what your 1 single mortal strike when crits deals like 350 damage combined from both weapons, and Mungus Bite can crit for 400. I mean, it's 50 more, but who cares about a build that has to be built around such an useless ability? I would prefer to slap some passive damage modifiers instead of going for that Mungus Bite, because it's useless. I know that it was powerful, but like I said, it did require you to do some preparation, to have some ramp up to actually get that 1 extra hit that you cannot spam, just do it from time to time. And of course it was gutted because everybody prefers to spam single button with Sinister Strikes, Titanic Mutilate or Moonfires. And yeah, unfortunately guys, that's the state of PvP currently on Ascension. It is what it is. I still enjoy the low level BGs because I can just test out many good things. If the build is not working, I just finish it up on level 60 and try again something else. If something is fun, I just decide to share it with you. So all in all, I think, yeah, melees are not in such a bad spot because there is actually some variety at least for the builds. But yeah, ranged and hunters in particular are really in a bad spot. There's like 1 current hunter spec that deals pretty decent damage I've seen, but I still need to test it, so if it goes pretty good, I'm gonna share it probably next time. But yeah, ranged builds area is also in a pretty bad spot. Hunters completely gutted. We have this Scorched Earth spam build, which is pretty good, and other than that, it's just Moonfire spam, either for Arcane Gunslinger or pure Moonfire spam. It's actually no difference at all. Things like Shadow Priest, also the Holy Fire things. Smite and Holy Fire are still in a good spot, but this is mainly because their base damage is still pretty high. So like I mentioned before, they have a good spell power coefficient that was not completely nerfed in PvP, and that's what we have. But anyway guys, I will probably still see you in low level BGs because this is the thing I mostly enjoy currently on Ascension. I also sent out all, if you can check it, if you do enjoy those PvP build guys and should I make more of those, or you would actually prefer to come back to kind of more older style of videos when we try out some things in PvE and maybe finally focus on 1 build, or maybe finally focus on 1 build and complete it fully and thoroughly from level 1 up to like Naxxramas raids. I do have to say that I have an itch for this one because yeah, I would love to actually finish some classic Naxxramas as I did it mostly in Wrath of the Lich King. But that's a topic for another video, so thank you guys for watching for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. And of course, let me know what you think in the comment section below.